Andor season 2 is here. I was not a fan of Andor season 1. I thought it dragged. I thought it was slow. I thought it was aimless. They didn't get to the action quick enough. I didn't think there were payoffs. I struggled to finish it. Having said that, the ending I thought paid off for me season 1. And I still would not recommend Andor season 1. I thought it was too slow, and it doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. It doesn't, in the sense that of this. I'll tell you why. Star Wars to me is faster, more intense. Andor is a slow burn. Slow burn is not how Star Wars is paced. And it's also acts of courage. It's a Jedi. There are a lot of elements that I associate with Andor. And season 1 was a huge departure, but it's also a prequel to a movie that is widely accepted to be the best Disney produced Star Wars movie, which is Rogue One. Generally speaking, when you ask people about Disney Star Wars, what is the one movie everyone can agree is the best? Rogue One. People will argue the sequels, this, Solo, whatever. Rogue One, people generally liked Rogue One and liked the characters, and the story was shocking. So season 1, I thought, meandered. It was weak. It was also effectively season 1. I'm teeing up our conversation about season 2. Season 1 was Les Miserables, the beginning of the French Revolution. That was Les Miserables, is French Revolution. This really was in tone, in even the color, the desaturated color, and the final speech, the ending, that last episode of Andor season 1, it was very much Les Miserables, the beginnings of the French Revolution, the beginning of the rebellion. And the least interesting character was Cassian Andor. And not a fan of season 1. And there are people I respect who love Andor. Season 2 is different. Season 2, the way it's being released on Disney Plus is 3 episodes. They're being dropped in 3 episode bundles, 3 episodes at a time over 4 weeks. And each of the 3 kind of comprise a mini movie. It starts out BBY4. It's the before the Battle of Yavin, right? BBI 4, 3, 2, 1, right? That's so. And each of the 3 episodes comprise about a year of time, year of events that are happening, counting down to what will presumably be the Battle of Yavin, which is the approach of the Death Star to wipe out the rebel base on the 4th moon of Yavin. Is it the 4th moon? I'm probably, correct me, chat, if I'm wrong. It's something someone will correct me. In any case, this is much better. I will say these first 3 episodes, not a great place to start. There's an essay event that has a lot of people talking. We will get to that. I thought it was completely unnecessary. You can have an evil Imperial person beating someone without it being, essay related. Let's just say that. I thought it was not necessary at all. And it affects one of the lead characters, Bix, the romantic interest for Cassian Andor. But putting that aside, it's a slow burn, which in the very beginning really bothered me about season 1 of Andor. But the slow burn this time pays off. Episode 5 has some amazing events. Episode 7, everything builds. Characters have fates, some not so good. Because these are a lot of new characters, we don't really know what's going to happen to them. And there are people that exist in this world. There's no key jangling, right? There's no Luke, Han, Chewie, and Leia exist in this world along with Vader. They're not in it. The only person we hear mentioned is the Emperor
and Grand Moff Tarkin.
and Grand Moff Tarkin, but never seen, mentioned. This now I understand why people loved Andor season 1 and what it builds to in those final 3 episodes is really, really phenomenal. And I'm going to get to you. Sorry, I'm so long winded, Alan. Apologies for that, but I'll have a final thought here. This Andor season 2 has to be the best Star Wars show, piece of content. I hate saying that Lucasfilm and Disney has ever made, from an acting standpoint, from a seriousness. This is not for kids. Kids will be bored. This is not a show for children. It's the production design is the best we have seen from Disney and Lucasfilm. It looks expensive. Lots of practical sets, props, the starship effects, amazing. I think that Tony Gilroy gets the world. He built something different in the same universe as George Lucas Star Wars, and by the end, it's very riveting. With the stakes being so high and things paying off. We will do a separate segment with spoilers, and I want to discuss more with you, Alan. What are your thoughts? Because you were like me, those first 3 episodes, we talked about it Friday.
Yeah.
Not really jazzed, but the slow build up to what's coming in those, they're like 3 sets, so it's almost like 4 movies in a way. I get it now. I am now an Andor fan. And Cassian Andor is the most changed of the characters. He becomes a courageous leader. He becomes he learns to use espionage. Now that he's had these experiences, he's actually schooling other people, saying, "What are you doing? You have to do this and this, and this is what you like." His character works now. He's become the
James
Andor
Bond of Star Wars.
Yeah, he's James Bond. And like, oh, now he's become the character who he is at the start of Rogue One. You know, because he doesn't really change in that movie. That's Jyn Erso's film. You know, so Alan, love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So I was one of the fans of season 1. I really enjoyed season 1. I will agree with you that Andor is in the top 3. I think I guess I would go with Mando season 1 and then Andor season 1 and 2. And I'll caveat that by saying, and that's not saying much.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but you and I have completely opposite feelings about Andor season 1 and 2, because everything you said you didn't like about season 1, I didn't like about season 2. If I had my druthers, there's 12 episodes of Andor season 2. I would only watch episodes 7, 8, and 9. The third week to me is I remember going through. Okay, so my issue with week 1 is it's boring. It is written with such British drama that it's hard for me to pay attention. It's hard for me to understand exactly the weight of what's going on. Like the whole wedding with Mon Mothma. I'm like, what am I watching? Why is there a wedding? And
that got weird. It was very much like a British costume melodrama.
And I hate to say it, but it just felt like in the first 5 episodes, everything that had happened there really didn't mean a whole lot in the back end. With that, I don't look. It's the birth of the rebellion, and so you know the rebellion is going to go into full force midway through it. And to me, when that moment happens, which is end of episode 6, it was like, wow, this is starting to get interesting. And I think the main reason it gets interesting is because it's familiar to me, because this is where it all begins. This is where the rebellion starts to form in a real way, where the rebellion gets real soldiers, gets real leaders. And to me, that all feels familiar because I've seen Star Wars. And I've seen the military makeup of Star Wars. And what you have starting at the end of episode 6 is that beginning. And so I got really excited and burned through episodes 7, 8, and 9. Great. And then, of course, it all leads up to Rogue One. And I just feel like at the last 3 episodes, it missed being great.
Well,
It's like there's this line where when a film crosses that line, it's like, oh, that feels good. This is a great movie. This is above average great. I felt like the series just came underneath that line and couldn't quite cross it in my mind. And I don't know. For some reason, it just hit the right note for me in season 1 versus season 2.
Well, that's funny. No, so that's weird. We have opposite opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the final episode is kind of an epilogue. It's an epilogue.
The second half of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But so the real climax of the show is episode 11. Sorry, we're speaking like this, but trying to keep it super spoiler free. But here's what season 2 did. It made me a fan now. Like I kind of want to watch season 1 and 2 back to back just to see how well everything melds. Because I didn't rewatch season 1 before watching season 2. So, but I do agree with you. Those first 3 episodes, the first 3 are the weakest.
Yeah.
I would say
it starts you in the middle of boring. And this is the criticism people had with Daredevil. It just never took off, and even having binged it, I feel that way. And especially that second week, you kind of see the machinations of what's going to happen before you get to spoilers. But I'm having a hard time following the story, and B, I am not invested in this story at all. And it's a shame that you have to wait 2 weeks before it gets good.
But I'll say this. What I think worked for me the best for Andor season 2, the stakes. We know what the stakes are. And when we get into our spoiler discussion, we'll talk about some of those, but the stakes are high. And some of the most mundane things that happen, this is where, like, Star Wars, the movies, I'm talking about the OT, original trilogy, that's where all the action happens. This is the precursor to all that action. Where a scene that it's not dull the way they play it. Someone being escorted to a vehicle is one of the most intense, like edge of your seat, and someone's getting escorted to a vehicle.
Yeah.
And so many things are happening all at once. It just
that was pretty great.
A simple that's the scene, and it's played so I really feel like the Star Wars movies, the OT, that's where all the action is. This is the precursor to that, and it doesn't, the other thing, give it credit for, doesn't destroy lore, legacy, anything. There is no disrespect paid. In fact, there's great, even though you don't see Grand Moff Tarkin, there's something he does off screen in this that is horrifying. That you really, it's like, oh yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin would do that. Oh, the Emperor, yeah, okay. And I want to talk about it in our spoiler segment. So you'll get fair warning when we get to that, because I want to be specific. I'm being very broad because it'll be the next month. I really want people to enjoy it, but just know it's going to be week 3 when you'll get
when it gets good.
Yeah, and
it's really good.
I feel very lucky, but also like because I binged it over 2 days, I was like, oh, I mean, I'm sitting there, episode 4. I'm like, what am I doing? And then it begins. You see the seeds of like, like everything pays off.
Yeah, I mean, on the first week, you all see episode 1. The best part of the first 6 episodes happens in the first 15 minutes of episode 1, and that's the whole thing with the TIE fighter. What I love about this TIE fighter sequence is it, in Star Wars, the scene is either people or it's ships. You never see the two combined together really in terms of being together and feeling like they're in the same world. That all happens in that first episode because it's kind of like, wow, it really feels like he's piloting a TIE fighter. Sorry to spoil the first 15 minutes, but Andor has to pilot a TIE fighter.
They actually posted that scene online.
Oh, okay.
Or a part of it, that scene. And it's really because you see the size of a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
And there's actually room in there. When you get in the ship, there's room it's bigger than you would think.
Yeah, because all you see in the movies is a guy sitting in the cockpit, or someone coming out of the plane or out of the ship. This one, you just get the sense that it's very organic, the two of them together.
The scale.
Yeah. And I think also that's one of the great things about season 1 is, you really get the feeling of how menacing a TIE fighter is. But again, look, I could probably tell you this. If you start with episode 6, you're probably in good shape. You really didn't need to know everything leading up to it.
What I did appreciate that preceding each episode is a recap of what you need to know going into the episode. You could actually start with episode 6 and I'm caught up.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the beginning of the rebellion, the things happen, and it, you get it. You know exactly what's going on. You understand the stakes, but everything leading up to it it's just people talking. There's this whole rebel infighting that happens in episode 2 or the first 3 episodes that is just beyond me. It's like you're showing me that the rebels they don't have their act together, and you give me 3 episodes of that, and it's like I get it, and it's also wasn't the greatest writing.
But they did give every single diverse character one line.
Yeah,
did you notice that?
Yeah,
that was cringe.
So there's a moment where there are 6 people talking, and I know dialogue is bad when every line being said, they're having a conversation, and the moment one person stops their line, the second person immediately comes in, which means in real life, when someone says something, you pause for a second to ingest what they said, and then you respond to it. But here, it's just one line, and it feels scripted.
Look, I'm not going to sit here also and pretend that there's not cringe stuff in the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where a character that we know loses her life, and another female who is involved with that character berates this dude who's I don't think he's 100% responsible, but he's got some responsibility in her death. And the way she talks to him is so annoying. I will say, we'll get to this. This show definitely had a lot of women on staff saying, well, what are the characters' feelings? I don't care. There's a job to get done. Move on.
Can you imagine on the battlefield having to apologize for your tone when you were giving orders?
Yes, it's annoying. And that scene really stood out. I think it's episode 5. Remind me, it's a blur when you watch them all at once. Oh, yeah. But that was so look, be prepared for some cringe, but on the scale of acolyte cringe, which is the worst, to zero cringe, it's probably a 3 or a 4. So not that bad, but still, there were plot lines I cared about, ones I didn't, but in the end, everyone that's been screaming how great Andor is, I get it. I'm a fan now. It's not perfect, but it is the best thing Disney has made. I think, along with, I think Mando's season 1 is probably more Star Wars, the traditional Star Wars, than this. But as a different flavor of Star Wars, I really enjoyed season 2.
I will say, once I finished episode 12, I did launch right into Rogue One, and I just forgot how brutal that movie is.
Yeah, it's a season 2 of Andor leads directly into events of Rogue One. It's a perfect companion. I want to talk Andor season 2 spoilers. I'll put up this warning. I'll stall for a bit.
Oh, look at that poster.
I love it. I love it.
Has everybody.
Well, it harkens back to the old school, put everyone on the poster. And I actually like that poster design a lot. Yeah. Thank you. Spoilers. if you want to remain spoiler free, do not watch this. And I'll start with some of the what I think are great moments, and they will be mild spoilers. Not going to ruin everything. Want you to enjoy season 2 should you choose to watch it. But let me start with the one question everyone will ask: member berries. Are there member berries? Well, I'll just say this: if Star Wars tech is you consider it, I mean, you've got stormtroopers, TIE fighters, familiar things. There's nothing in particular that is a member berry or what people would say are jangling keys. But what is included are mentions of the Emperor, who, even though the Emperor is off screen, plays a big part of the story. Same thing with Grand Moff Tarkin is mentioned. And we do see 2 familiar locations that you can maybe if the location is member berries, but it was like I got a big smile on my face when both locations, and they're not just there to be jangled like a key jangling. They're actually important.
Yeah.
There is a speech that is given in the Galactic Senate Chamber on Coruscant, and it looks even better than it looked in the prequels. There's a speech that Mon Mothma is going to deliver about a planet named Gorman. It's literally
Gorman, yeah.
It's Gorman, Gorman, not named after me. And there is a controversy and something that happens on Gorman that is the spark that creates outrage around the galaxy that will lead to the rebellion. It's actually very clever. There's a mineral on Gorman that is being mined, and the planet is being plundered, unbeknownst to most of the population. It is a secret. What is this mineral being used for? Take a guess.
Could it be something that appears in this poster?
Well, it's also something where the characters, unbeknownst to the characters, the Empire is doing all this stuff behind the scenes to build up their super weapon, and you see the real cost of that. And this speech that's given in the Senate chamber is, well, you'll see. You'll see there's a planet, also Yavin is featured prominently near the end of season 2. And it looks just like we saw in Star Wars Episode 4, or as I call it, Star Wars. That I quite liked. I don't know how deep I want to get into spoilers. I see people dropping off. That's totally fine. But I want to talk about some of the better moments, sort of the good, the bad moments. And this is going to be light spoilers, but a lot of the story revolves around the plundering of the planet Gorman. Alan, why don't you chime in here?
Yeah, so basically what's happening overall is the Gorman is technically a free planet that is associated with the Empire, but because of its resource and the importance of that resource, maybe the Empire is starting to infiltrate the planet, kind of get into the government, get into everything, and take over. And that's kind of where episode 6 ends, where it's like, look, we need to speed up this project, and so we're just gonna have to take over the planet. And that six the beginnings of that third one is just the beginning of this rebellion, where the Empire just takes over the planet, and then the rebels are trying to figure out, do they give up or do they fight? It's kind of interesting. The one moment of politics I'll bring up here: the people who are defending Gorman are called insurrectionists. Why? Because they felt the government was being stolen from them. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, but there is a storyline also about the the state spying on people.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are whole subplot thing of devices, listening devices are everywhere. And one of my favorite characters I really grew to like is played by Denise Go, Dedra Miro. Her storyline is so good. Her and she has a relationship with
her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend.
I forget his
and
name. Yeah.
His mother, the guy was last season. I could not stand this character. This season, all these elements come together in a way that pays off. That I think is so great. Dedra Miro schools the mom in this scene that is so good. Just basically flat out tells her to F off. And this is how it's going to be. And God, I really loved it.
Yeah.
And, the guy who played Cyril Karn, Kyle Solar. So
that's
Cyril
actually Cyril. That was his name.
Yeah. Cyril's in this relationship with Dedra. And they're, I mean, they don't know like who's playing who. There's a lot of intrigue there. That just pays off in such a great way.
But this is that turning point that people have to start making choices now. Are they gonna side for safety and security, or are they going to side for what is right? And to me, that was kind of the crux of the whole season. And again, you have to wait till week 3 for all this to happen.
The problem is, these first 3 episodes are like throwaway.
Yeah. The other thing is, so another person we haven't mentioned who's in it is Bail Organa. But it's not Jimmy Smits. It's not Jimmy Smits. It's even better. It's Benjamin Bratt. And I was like,
that was
awesome.
So awesome. I actually think he's better than Jimmy Smits.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely given much more meat in this series than Jimmy Smits was ever given in anything from Star Wars, from the prequels to Kenobi.
And the character of Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker, he has a great storyline that pays off, because we see him later in Rogue One. He's less the hardened warrior. He's more a hardened warrior in Rogue One, but you see his beginnings.
Well, he's the one who rescues Jyn as a child from the attack of the Empire.
And then I love the relationship between Luthen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and Cassian. Luthen's like kind of the mentor that teaches him everything. And that just like Cassian really grows into the hero we see in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I'm just saying that this and the whole thing, once it gets to Gorman, the planet, what's happening there, there's a mystery, all this like the population, there's a growing insurrectionists that are just not pleased with what's going on. What is the Empire? Why do they care about this out of the way planet? And it's literally a small thing. It's like when you look at even in our own history, like World War I started with something simple, right? That escalated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of, you get to see the seeds of it. This is the thing. This minor event on Gorman drives what creates the rebellion. And it's so well done. I just want to say, I'm trying to, I want to say these are spoilers. It's more story, but
story spoilers. I mean, what I do like, again, it all happens in the second half, but how ugly and dirty this rebellion and the Empire taking over gets. Part of it is the fact that even in Rogue One, the ending doesn't end very clean in the sense of everyone lives happily ever after. And this one just really plays into it. I think my only misstep, is there is a Stellan Skarsgård centric episode. And I was still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was okay. It was like they wanted to give his backstory.
Yeah, if you have Stellan Skarsgård, you got to give him an episode, and I just don't think they did him justice in that one.
No, it was okay. It was his backstory was fine. What I did like also, which you can guess from if you know who the cast is, Alan Tudyk is back as K2SO.
Oh, yeah.
And you see how Cassian meets K2SO, and they, he's not who he is. he becomes K2SO, but it's really well played, and their relationship evolves. And
really... when I say the turnaround for me was the end of episode 6, that's when K2SO is born, and the show just takes off from there. Alan Tudyk brings such energy to this show that needed energy.
It did. It's gotten, you see, like Cassian now develops this relationship with basically what's a murder robot. I do like that they did not, they brought in new elements.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these robots in action, like killing people. It's pretty serious. And so, I really like the K2SO. It's not a cameo either. He's
in the movie.
What's that? Yeah, he's in the movie. But I mean, he becomes a character now in this. He's kind of born or reborn, as it were. And Alan Tudyk he does a great job. It's really good. So we're not going to obviously ruin, these aren't major spoilers, but I'll say that the way the series ends, I think the climax is more in episode 11 or 11 and a half, as it were. And it's kind of ends on an epilogue, but leads right into, you can watch Rogue One right after season 2. And I think it pays everything off. I mean, this is the tragic Star Wars story that I think that's part of the reason that, again, I think that I get it now, why people like Andor, the tone. It's more serious, and it's not the hooray, we beat the bad guys, because in the end, they're not going to beat the bad guys. Eventually, sure, but characters have their payoffs, and Bail Organa and Mon Mothma too. That the way they set things up, God, I really wish Benjamin Bratt had. He was such a way better portrayal of a Bail Organa.
Yeah. I'm going to blame the script on that one. I like Jimmy Smits. He can do a good job, but Benjamin Bratt is given a lot of meat to work with here.
Oh, and his relationship with Mon Mothma, that like, where they kind of set, like, here's how we can do things. Because when we get to, after Rogue One, we get to Star Wars, the Galactic Senate is wiped out in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's leading to these things that will, things that make even more sense. And that's what I think I like about Andor season 2. No disrespecting lore. They're not trying to change the Force. They're not taking characters you love, making them stupid or whatever. It adds, it does not detract. And for that, it gets points from me. Final thoughts, and we'll go to comments.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want a good starting point, it's the Mon Mothma speech. Start a little bit before that. Start with that speech. You'll get it.
What episode is that?
I think it's either episode 6 or it's near the end of episode 5. But because after the speech, it prompts the "Hey, get to the car."
Yeah. There's this entire scene where Cassian is escorting her to the car, and all is not right.
Yeah, but it's the action scene I was waiting for in this series.
It's so well played with tension and like a scene in a James Bond movie. We have to get to a thing. Let's not get killed or arrested. And it's played so well.
Yeah.
So, I'm a fan now. I'm a convert. Come at me. I don't care. I did not love season 1. Season 2 is the payoff. It starts getting good halfway into the season. So if you want to sign up for that, and not to say that there are not cringe moments, I will say that speech where the one character is schooled by the woman because her lover got killed is just like, it was over the top, unnecessary.
Yeah. And I know you're all waiting for it, but yes, there are lesbians in Star Wars.